You said we're gonna do something to your brain.
Welcome to Dead Air 12. This week we're talking about the Republican debate, Prigozhin, Dr. Death, Dahmer, some other stuff. How are you, George?
I am well. How are you, Christina?
I am well, thank you.
Good. Relax. Relax is the word for me.
Relax is the word for me.
Especially after the Republican debate. The first primary.
Yeah, first primary. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if this is true, but I think that in England, maybe this is just my memory of it from, not having been there since, like, my roaring 20s. But I seem to remember it was like, no one cared about the election, and then it was like, hey, there's a general election next month. I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I meant to ask you about
Who's
this.
standing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, obviously the Prime Minister and some goon.
Yeah, if you remember the last election season, you said exactly the same thing.
Last, 2016 to 2020?
No. In 2020, yeah, I think in 2019, you were like, people are already talking about the election here. Like, that's weird. It's like a year away.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I don't know if it is weird, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also wanted to mention, just because I think it's funny, election night, if you remember, the last one, Trump versus Biden. I think I actually I want to say I was off work or had just gotten off work and we were watching the election night coverage, and it was your first time here.
Here, yeah.
That's right. And it was really funny to me because you'd be like watching the results like all night long and be like, okay, now it's up 1% and it's up, okay, now he's up 2%, and be like, babe, it's gonna be like this all night long.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tomorrow before we know anything.
Yeah.
You were like, really?
Oh.
That's all. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In England, it's like at least a day.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
England.
It's like a full night.
Oh, and there's
event
other
to people
countries
that
around
pay
it.
attention. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you think?
Well,
of
another
the
thing to say is in Britain as well. Sorry, not to interrupt you. I'm just like I'm trying to speak over the dog clattering around. I was just gonna say it's a parliamentary system, so the way they do it there is the party. I guess they do it the same here. The party selects their candidate, but it's way less kind of public than that. Members of the public can vote if they're members of the party, like the Labour Party, but I didn't know I didn't know who Jeremy Corbyn was.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Until like a month before.
Yeah.
The election between him and Cameron.
Right, I getcha. Yeah,
It's been a long time. Sorry.
I guess it depends on like your level of engagement with it. Yeah, lots of people vote in the primaries. God, I want to say it's the same everywhere. You have to be registered as that party, to vote. Yeah, when was my last primary election that I voted in? I can't recall. Anywho, yeah, so what'd you think about the Republican debate?
I suppose ultimately I thought it was a kind of a bit of a waste of time. Politically it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
For the candidates it was a waste of time. Why do it? It's so far away. It was just a bit of theatre.
Yeah, and
I suppose.
From what I can tell in the polling, at this point, it looks like Trump will probably be the nominee, so.
Yeah.
So I don't really know either. Everyone else seems to be, I looked at a number of polls, and obviously they can vary wildly by source and stuff, but, it's like, you're looking at like 30 to 50% Trump, and then DeSantis next under him. And like, he's just so far ahead of all of those candidates in the polls that it's kind of like, what necessarily is the point? But, that's the process, You're going to have the primaries, so.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
So did you like what they said?
There were some amusing things, yeah. There wasn't a whole lot said is the point, other than some inflammatory comments that seemed to be like designed for that, in a sense, to get attention,
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same with the Democrat primaries. I remember it was all fluff.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Part of that, I think, is like, I don't know, the debate format, depending on
Yeah.
what is kind of weird. Like, just it's very limited, so, like, if you only have a couple minutes to speak, you may as well just throw out your catchphrases and, I have a plan. I'm not going to tell you what it is, so I'm running out of time, But they also did talk over each other, like, incessantly, which was, again, not that abnormal, I guess.
Poorly moderated.
Yeah, I feel like they pretty much all are,
Yeah.
with some exceptions.
I was going to say that, as well as getting money out of politics, what you ideally need to do after that is get, like, personality out of politics. I mean, obviously you couldn't do it, it's fantasy, but
Yeah.
wouldn't it be better if they just, like you said, you just told these people, like, just write what your policies are and what you would do as president in 500 words or less.
Yeah, versus,
Bullet points are fine.
he's the one I want to have a beer with.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
it all seemed that
the opposite.
they all kind of, did the sort of typical political dance of insulting each other, but also pussyfooting around because eventually, they're still Republicans, eventually you're going to have to work with them.
Yeah.
It was bizarre to see Chris Christie there.
Yeah.
I mean, he seemed like, I don't like Chris Christie or his politics, but he seemed like the most normal one. He seemed like the one that knew, like, I'm not going to be president.
Yeah.
I'm doing this,
I maybe didn't mind, getting, like, booed here and there if it was something he, either really thought or strategically wanted it to look like he really thinks,
Yeah.
Depending on how cynical you want to get.
Yeah, so do you think it's going to... Sorry.
I was just going to say, which for us is a lot.
I don't think so. I'm skeptical, not cynical.
Yeah, I think that's probably more fair.
There could, there could be a god.
Yeah.
There could be psychic energy. But I think if there was, it is measurable, just we don't know how to measure it yet.
And that makes
Sorry,
sense.
I'm not trying to say I believe in
And that
ghosts
makes
or something.
zero impact on day-to-day life.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you discovered there were ghosts, like, look, we can actually... There's a ghost in the room right there. It's over there.
Yeah.
Put it away.
Yeah, I get you. I'd want to know.
I'd want to know. And then, like you said, it'd be like, they've been around all the time.
Yeah. Same aliens. I would love to meet aliens. That'd be awesome. That'd be, like, the coolest thing ever, if they're real.
Yeah. Not only were your dead relatives watching you wank, they were also posting it to the ghost internet.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But,
I'd want to know. Aliens, I'd want to know.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, I totally want to know.
But would they cover it up if they did know?
Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. People who are, like, super into... Not the idea that aliens exist, but that they visit Earth regularly and have been for thousands of years, especially those people. And,
Like with their beach towels.
Simultaneously trying to influence human development, but also make sure that there's no proof ever that they were there, and also are mostly interested in people who live in rural areas. I don't know. Your thoughts about this totally unrelated topic?
No, yeah, just yeah, I mean, like, in the QAnon documentary on HBO, totally recommend it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Very good. We discover that a lot of the QAnon ideas are actually based on, I think, an Italian, essentially professional prankster, not cryptologist, but, into leaving, I don't know what you'd call it, like leaving breadcrumbs, like a professional labyrinthian. Talking about, like, leaving clues and influencing people and stuff, and just, I think there's room to go for, like, really batshit conspiracy theories that people would swallow up, like make a little film about, like, a guy in a trench coat and a hat in the, like, ghettos of Washington, like, handing out crack, and be like, in the 1980s, Reticulans came to Washington, D.C. and handed out crack to undermine black solidarity in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not, yeah.
Because if there is a government conspiracy to stop the general public knowing about aliens, that has to be with the aliens agreeing to that, right?
You'd think.
Because they could just be like, no, we want people to know, we're going to land in the middle of a mall.
Yeah. If you can travel
start handing out
interstellar.
pamphlets.
Yeah.
Yep, we're here. Aliens exist, get over it.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, conspiracy theories, easier to understand than.
So are you saying you don't believe in aliens?
I believe that there is life out there. I don't know that we will ever encounter it.
Did you think Chris Christie answered that well? That
What?
UFO
I can't remember what the UFO question was. What did he say?
Well, he sort of acted incredulous, like, "Oh, you asked me," but he basically said, like, "I want to know, and I want to tell the American people if it's true."
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd want to know.
Yeah, but if you were the president of this land, apart from declaring war on the Pusher Man, if aliens came to you and said, "We'll leave it to you. Do you want to tell people or not? We've selected you President of America for whatever reason. You're the nicest flag."
You mean me personally?
Yeah.
Or me if I were the type of person who could get elected president?
If you were Joe Biden.
If I were Joe
I'd just be there with my yo-yo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. It's a tough fantasy question. There could certainly be some really bad consequences from exposing that information to the public if it were true. And also, I don't know how much it would matter because there are already conspiracy theorists who believe that when you see aliens, actually, that it's just the government doing like holograms and stuff they're going to try and fake an alien invasion to bring in the one world order, new world order, one world government, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean, where we are right now, any number of crazy things could happen and people will either believe it, not believe it, or come up with loads of alternative wild things to speculate about. So
the preppers bit where they're asking those kids, like, well, why would the government, what is it on that one, set off a nuclear bomb and
on its own people,
and they obviously parrot their dad, which is like, to control us, like, you're an American citizen in America,
you're controlled.
Yeah.
Depending on how you look at it. Yeah.
I mean, like, do you know why the government isn't calling you up and telling you when to shit? Because that's not an advantage to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
more trouble than it's worth,
Yeah, I mean...
You're already controlled and...
Any conspiracy theory that... For me, any conspiracy theory that deals with the idea of intentional depopulation, I feel like it's a little... The logic doesn't totally make sense. Like, the people who are actually in control of this country, by and large, are people with loads of money, big financial interests.
Who want
manpower. Who want manpower, who want, to pay people less, to have plenty of wage labor. I don't know that there would be a benefit in trying to reduce that necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately it's not even like we need more manpower for our border wars. We also need consumers.
Yeah,
for this
consumers.
type of
the economy collapses.
Society,
yeah. Yeah, indeed.
That's why the Resident Evil films don't work.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's why
the planet is decimated, but the evil corporation is still doing its research and selling its products to who? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
The Republican.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which led us to Aliens and Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Why has no one done a rip-off Resident Evil? And it's just about people voting in a clearly he's the only zombie. He's just kind of benign.
There may already be.
But people keep going behind him and being like, I don't know, taxation is theft. And you still get a number of people being like, that guy's got some good points.
Yeah.
If he could just, learn how to open doors.
Yeah, why not? Why hasn't anybody done Dog Surgeon, our idea for a movie?
What? It's about, that's not a movie though, that's just a scene.
Well, it could be. You don't think? A movie where it's a horror movie where a dog has a doctorate and becomes a surgeon.
And no one can stop him.
No one can stop him.
Like, no one else in the hospital acknowledges that this is a dog.
Yeah, it's just you don't even know. You're being put under anesthetic, and the last thing you see is like, oh my god.
Just all these pipes coming out and blood going everywhere.
Swatting with paws and yeah.
Yeah. All right, yeah. Do you have anything else to say about the Republican debate then?
I mean, I didn't really have a lot to say to begin with. Just, yeah, once you've been through loads of these from both sides, I feel like the primary debates are more like watching they become more like entertainment, I think, than anything that's actually valuable in terms of learning about the candidates and.
But no policy questions at all.
No.
I mean, you could just devastate it just by going, getting the moderator to be like, all right then you, what would you do about American foreign policy in Egypt? Like, if they don't know that question's coming, what are they going to say?
We're going to help the American people. We're going to get rid of Bidenomics. The Bidenomics hurts Egypt. But also we don't want to, the military is great, but also and we're going to increase our military spending, but also we also shouldn't be getting involved in other countries' business. Ukraine, I mean, several of them pretty much just said that. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the closest we had, I think, to like a real policy question, even though there were no policy answers. Just either Ukraine war bad, or Ukraine war good.
I think DeSantis said something like, "What would I do? I'd get
I'd get Europe
to pull their weight," and then the moderator, like the one time they actually had information, they said, "Oh, actually, 9 or 10 or 11, something like that. European countries have given more."
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Does that bring us to Prigozhin?
It does, yeah. You wanted to mention Prigozhin. Mm-hmm.
What do you want to say about it?
Nothing. And you said write down Prigozhin, so I did. What do you have to say?
Well, as you undoubtedly know, Prigozhin probably died in a plane accident.
And he
was the
Wagner
leader of Wagner. Mm-hmm. Also on the plane was the second in command and co-founder of Wagner. Mm-hmm. As well as,
like 7 other people.
8 other people.
Yeah.
So innocent people did die on it. It was almost certainly the US intelligence apparently says today, as is reported in the US press, that it was a bomb rather than it was shot down, which is what they were saying.
Wait, it was on a plane or a helicopter?
It was on a private plane going from Moscow to St. Petersburg.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which would lead me to believe that it was a successful assassination and deliberately public assassination, because surely they could have just met them on the tarmac.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And, right, okay.
And then, like, the day after, I think there's a big Wagner graveyard that got bulldozed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the end of them.
Yeah.
It was a stupid idea anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say about that? It's okay if you don't. Right?
No, not really. I mean, I've only been tangentially following what's going on there. It's been so long.
It's like Hitler blowing up Himmler. Like, yay blowing up Himmler, but I'm not going to be like, yay Hitler.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I mean, I really don't have a lot to say. I mean, fuck Vladimir Putin. Sorry, that's not very...
Yeah.
Not super analytical response, just, yeah.
What a tit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, anyway, okay, well,
yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Yep.
What else were we going to talk about? Or not talk about? Right, Dahmer. The Netflix.
I did it for Dahmer!
I know. Every episode, just can't help yourself. Yeah, I mean, it came out, was it 2022? A couple years ago or something. And we just never got around to it. Typically, I think neither of us is super into, we both, I think, like crime type stuff, especially interesting cases.
Yeah, but not into dramatization.
But not into dramatizations of them, typically. Just because, you kind of always have that, at least I do, watching, always that feeling of like, well, did that really happen? Was it really like that? Let's pause it and look it up. Like, why don't I just read the Wikipedia or watch a documentary? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's no value to it, but
no, it was just very well acted.
Yeah, Evan Peters was really great.
First 3 episodes were pretty tight.
Pretty solid. I would even say for me, up to like 5 was pretty good. And yeah.
Well, I didn't really like it because I thought it kind of got bogged down and also kind of got bogged down in presenting things from the victim's side, which I felt was cynically put in there to kind of shield it from, well, you're profiting off this terrible murderer.
Yeah. Yeah, we both kind of got that feeling, some of that.
Which, I mean, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes it tough to do with something like this.
I don't think Downfall shouldn't have been made, about Hitler in the bunker during the last days. That's really good. Mm-hmm. But... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I
also... a bit further away.
I did see people as well, I think we were several episodes in, and I was, like, wondering what reviews were. Tried to avoid that stuff, like, depending on what it is, before watching, so I can have some kind of my own conclusion, and then I start wondering. And I definitely saw people saying in, like, negative reviews that they added a lot of stuff with, like, someone said, like, the deaf guy who he kind of, like, dated for a bit, that never happened. He never dated
one of his
victims. I don't know if that's true. I didn't fact check that, but the fact that my brain always wonders what's been changed where and for why is like a bit distracting for me when watching that kind of stuff.
Like in the show, it had the cops who let the is it Laotian boy? The young boy.
Yeah.
Who give him back to Dahmer. It has those same cops later calling
that
victim's father with racist stuff.
And I heard that never happened.
And that and and then you're left wondering like, well, were there crank calls, but not from
where did
cops.
Where's the truth in that? And again, I just start getting bogged down and wondering what the real story is, and it can pull me away from actually watching the show. But especially toward the end, it's like the last couple episodes at least where one of the victims' families is, they're talking about suing the maker of a comic book, saying that they're glorifying Dahmer and what he did. And
it is, that comic book.
Yeah, it is. And that's, that's a valuable question that, maybe is worth discussing. But then that just goes away. And that made my cynical side say they put that in there as, like you were saying, sort of a buffer to being accused of disrespecting the victims. And that's also where I wonder about, if, in fact, they've stretched some of the victim stories, if that's just a way to, be like, look, we spent loads of time with some of these victims, humanizing them. And, so we're not just trying to make money doing this, taking advantage of or exploiting the families, I mean, personally, I think I'd prefer if, I don't know, it just seemed disingenuous to me.
I think what did, I don't usually like documentaries with reenactments, but I think what did that really well was, help me remember the name of it, the HBO documentary about the school admissions scandal.
Operation Varsity Blues.
Operation Varsity Blues.
I can't remember if it was on HBO or not, but yes, with Matthew Modine as the guy in the reenactments.
Yeah, and it's a documentary, but it has fairly beefy reenactments, but they're all, well, I think they're all pretty accurate.
Some of them you can tell they come directly from
from transcripts.
Transcripts, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think that would have been more appropriate if because the acting was very good, and his father, the guy from Step Brothers,
really
can't
good.
remember his name.
Yeah, he's been in loads of stuff. Yeah,
was really good, and
a lot of people were really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And if you're going to do something like that, like about a real person like Jeffrey Dahmer, who killed real people, and portray those real people, and do something so sensitive, don't advertise fucking Diet Coke to me on the sly. I think that's disgusting. I think that's gross.
Yeah, we have like a dramatic scene with Niecy Nash, also great in it. And she's sitting talking about, it's like toward the end, about, you know, how this has affected her and stuff. Yeah, and you've got this Coke sitting on the table, like, where the eye goes most in the shot. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're talking about, like, just basic framing, you know. It's, like, one of the most prominent positions, and then there's, like, her, and there's all this empty space. So you're either looking at her or looking at this Coca-Cola can with the label turned perfectly facing the camera. Like, how am I supposed to...
Yeah. Take this
seriously.
Seriously, yeah. When you've made it to sell me poison. You know, it made me want to, like, digitally remaster a little bit of Schindler's List. So, like, the Auschwitz concentration camp commander can be, you know, we can get a really nice shot of him driving a BMW and then drinking a Fanta and then sipping a Nescafe and then reading Daily Mail.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there can be product placement in movies that's, you know, not distracting, but...
Well, you know, if they did it in Step Brothers...
See, I don't even remember the product placement.
No, I don't remember either, but I'm saying if they did it, I don't care, because that's not about...
A serious
you know, a serial killer who was around still in living memory. You know, people's mothers and fathers of the victims are still alive. It was not long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
You know.
And it also is kind of, I guess, weird to me that, I mean, maybe not, I guess, but that a brand would want to be associated, like, you know, okay, here's this person portraying, you know, somebody who knew Jeffrey Dahmer talking about the awful things that he did and drink Coke. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you want to associate dismemberment with your product, or...
They should have had a whole bit where he's putting people into that drum, and then he's like, oh, it's hard work. Oh, I love Coke, though. And then looks at it, and then just starts pouring it in there, and it's like dissolving all the bodies. It's like Coke. You can dissolve people with it.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, just like, refreshing. Like the World War Z one, that was so...
What was that one?
Toward the end, where Brad Pitt is in the government facility, and he's just taken the thing that makes him sick so they don't attack him, and then he walks down, the first thing he does is go to a vending machine and pull out a soda. While there's, like, dead bodies running past him next. Like, what? What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. But that's, I mean, that is kind of, but that's better than putting it in this.
Yeah.
No, they should have gone crazy with it. They should have been like, the cops like bang on the table going, was it the Coke, Jeffrey? Was it because the sweet flavour of Coke made you do it, Jeffrey? And like constantly imply that like he did these crimes because he loves Coca-Cola.
And the next scene where they're interviewing him, he's telling his story, you know, Dahmer talking about what he did, cut to the cop, and he's just got a Subway sandwich.
He's just shoving it in his mouth,
Subway label.
No, it's two cops, and they get a Lady in the Tramp movement at the end where they kiss.
Yeah, right. Next is a Kentucky Fried Chicken, you know.
Yeah. Next is Yeah, so, I mean, I liked some of it, but it kind of left me with a sour taste.
Yeah. Really, I really liked the first few episodes. I think it, for me, also would have been better if we just stuck with Dahmer. And, I mean, there's so many other things, too, where people were saying, like, in real life, his dad never dissected animals with him. They just added that. Oh. And they played that up like it was such a... Again, I don't know if that's true. I just saw some in reviews, and I didn't fact-check it. I was just curious. And, I mean, if that's the case, like, that seems like such a critical part of the setup. Why add that?
They can constantly bring it back.
Yeah, they constantly come back to that. Make it a big deal between his parents. Like, his mom's, like, blaming his dad for that, so...
Yeah.
Weird.
That is weird. I mean, even just that idea, like, I think, you know, the idea of, like, just, you know, that's your hobby with your son. Maybe that's weird, but he wasn't killing the animals. Mm-hmm. It was, like, all roadkill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, some of it looked pretty good though. Some of it looked like it had almost been made by HBO.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, that actually reminds me.
Music.
The music while we were watching, when it gets into these really like score heavy moments, we were like, this sounds like the soundtrack from Blonde.
Well, I didn't think that.
You mentioned it like several episodes.
I said it
didn't you?
sounds like Blonde.
It sounds like Blonde.
But I didn't mean
yeah.
it was the same music.
No, I know you didn't mean that. You
Yeah,
said
right.
it sounds like it, but I kept thinking that too. Like this sounds like the main kind of like theme that you get in Blonde, and so
Yeah, I mean, it's the same instruments. Isn't
and that
it?
drop like, do you know what I'm talking about?
The modulation.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was interesting. Yeah, and I guess Dahmer and Blonde both made on Netflix the same year. Soundtrack made by the same two guys.
Thought the soundtrack was brilliant.
Yeah. Of Dahmer. Yeah.
Yeah, well, both of them, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought there was too much pop music in Dahmer.
Yeah, well...
But the score...
Yeah, the score,
was really good.
No, I agree. There
the score was... There was a lot of dread there, and it was good. And excellent in Blonde.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the pop music was too much.
Yeah.
And again, if you're going to put 80s pop music in, go mental. Use Tony Basil.
Yeah. And something a little more creative than some of what we got, I think. Yeah. But I would have been happy with just more of that score, personally. Unless it really needed, like, a soundtracky song somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What next?
Yeah. Then that brings us to, Dr. Death.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Something we like.
Something we like. It made me, watching Dahmer made us think about Dr. Death again. It's also from a couple of years ago, I believe. It's a...
But Christina, what is Dr. Death?
Yeah, it's a Peacock series.
Oh.
The only reason to get Peacock, in my opinion.
Or get a free trial of Peacock.
Or, yes, get a free trial of Peacock. I would recommend that. Or other means at your disposal. The Dr. Death, it's a dramatic series based on real events that is actually pretty close to those events and also just really interesting to watch in its own right. It's about a doctor, Dr. David Dunch, in Texas, who is a neurosurgeon, and he has a spiel of very crazy accidents, perhaps malpractice issues during surgeries where he cripples, maims, and kills people, and like several of them over a pretty short period of time. And two doctors who have been involved in trying to fix some of his work, played by Alec Baldwin and Christian Slater, who are great in this, basically take it upon themselves to try and take him down. After they've seen what he's done, they are convinced that he knows what he's doing because it looks like the like spine surgeries and stuff that he does. It looks like he knew the right thing to do and did the opposite. And then that's part of a kind of a question ongoing through the series is whether this is intentional or was he poorly trained? Is he, you know what I mean? Like, so what's his intentionality?
Yeah, and it's all based on something that happened.
Yep, it's all based on a real guy.
Yeah.
Yep, Dr. Dunch. He is played in the series by Joshua Jackson, who's great. And yeah, what did you like about it? We've watched it.
There's also a documentary.
Now, so. Yeah, there's also a documentary on Peacock, and they kind of go nicely together.
Yeah.
I think.
I really liked it. It was well paced, and it didn't do the typical TV thing of having like 2 or 3 good episodes and then stretching.
Mm-hmm.
It never felt like it had filler in it. There were a couple of really weird shots. Especially during the prosecution and defense, especially remember the defense lady standing up and she's looking. Her head is close to the frame where she's looking, so there's this huge gap behind her head, and I'm constantly waiting for Dunch to kind of like give her the chair.
Yeah, it looks like you're expecting something.
Yeah. I kind of mentioned that just because that's like my major problem with it, and that's tiny.
There are a couple moments where
really
it's like that's a weird shot, or a couple bits where I'm like, that's like this pop song here is a little too close to another pop song, that was in earlier in the episode. But super minor complaints in my opinion. Oh, and in my other complaint, some weird looking CGI fat suit stuff at times.
CGI?
Uh,
Was it CGI?
it looked like it to me. What did you think? Do you think he was like wearing?
I don't know, but that would be way harder than just giving him a fat
maybe.
goiter.
See, I mean, I didn't look this up, but I was curious because when he's like sitting still or just moving like his body and stuff, it looks perfectly fine. Sometimes when he's talking, it looks weird. It looks digital to me.
Hmm.
But you didn't feel like you weren't sure if it was digital or.
I wasn't sure, no.
Yeah. Okay. But again, a minor gripe. You know, that's just like watching a really good episode and be like, oh, that looked a little weird there. But overall, yeah, I thought it was really good.
It was extremely effective at making surgery look horrific, especially, you know, the malpractice. Not even just making it look horrific, but there's a bit which happened and we see in the documentary, although it's blurred, where Alec Baldwin's character, the real life doctor, I can't remember his name, and it's Kirby, is it
Kirby.
Randall Kirby and...
Yeah, I can't remember the other one.
So he's doing the surgery after Dunch has botched it, and he's opening someone up to look what has happened, and he's having it recorded
In her spine.
in her spine, and you see things, but he's just describing what's happened, and just the description makes you go, oh.
Yeah, because
it's very good.
It is, yeah. Especially, I really love that scene because, I like that. I mean, I guess I don't really know, but it sounds like all of his descriptions and terms are like the medically appropriate, correct ways of describing these things, even if I don't totally understand exactly, like, you know, what some of the words are and stuff. I totally get the horror of what's happened, you know, the way that he's describing it.
When they say things like he's chipped away at the bone so much that it can no longer support the head.
Yeah, like he's pulverized the bone on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great bit where they're talking about, it might even be that one, where they're talking about he's done this, and this. This surgery was to remove a diseased disc. He didn't touch it.
He didn't even touch the correct disc. Yeah.
Yeah. He cut through someone's esophagus thinking it was a tumor.
So
he didn't even remove it though.
Yeah.
He just cut through it.
Yeah, and then describing then after, like, you know, what they've had to do. Like you keep seeing like the Dunch surgeries, and there's a tremendous build-up. The score in this, I think, is great too. It's really extra. Like, it's kind of score forward, but I think it mostly really works. Very, I don't know, how would you describe it? Like, dire, and there's a lot of dread, especially in the, like, with these like bass lines leading up to while they're rolling people into surgery. Do you know what I mean?
Score forward is a good way of describing it.
Yeah. And often I find that distracting, but in this it really worked, especially because there are so many bits where there's not a lot of talking or just a little bit, so it's not in the way, but it's like really adding to the mood. And so you have this horrific like build up of him getting these people into surgery, and then having like Alec Baldwin's character, like, who comes and meets these people afterwards because they're going after this guy, trying to basically get him like to stop doing surgery.
Yeah.
And him describing what really happened during the surgery to people afterwards, what happened to them. Like, it's just a really fun, you know, it's almost like watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where Alec Baldwin, Christian Slater are almost like detectives, you know, describing the crime after it occurred.
And this guy can't be stopped because it's very difficult to prove he did these things intentionally. And the way that things work in Texas is people can't sue for more than $250,000.
Right, so lawyers won't take on certain kinds of lawsuits.
So he gets getting kicked out of hospitals, but without a blemish on his record.
Yeah,
so
because then the hospitals, there's all kinds of like systemic stuff that allows him to keep practicing and just moving to different hospitals. And that really just like added to the horror to me. There's like the general like straightforward horror, sorry if I'm talking too much, of just like what he's doing to these people. Like, he, you know, paralyzes and nearly decapitates his best friend. And then the systemic stuff is like this other element of horror. You know, like the hospital, oh, he killed some people, but we don't really want to, you know, we don't want to make our hospital look bad. We also don't want to put any bad marks against him with like the medical board, because then he might sue us for lost wages. That could be like $40 million over his whole career. So we'll just let you resign, and then we'll write you a letter of recommendation for a different hospital. Wow, like the horror. on
Yeah.
top, yeah, really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you recommend then, if people are going to watch these two things, would you recommend the fiction one first, which we did when we discovered it? Because I think we watched the fiction one first just out of interest, and then it was like, oh, there's an actual documentary as well.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that, or just whatever people want?
I mean, personally, I would recommend the fictional one first in this case, because it is such an interesting just series on its own. The story is interesting, and then if you watch I'm pretty sure it just accompanied. It's like it should appear if you're looking on the Peacock app or whatever, like right next to it, the Dr. Death documentary. I preferred doing it that way, seeing the documentary after, because then it was like, oh, these are the people that I've actually seen in the show. Like that's his actual ex-wife, and her talking about what he was like, and you can see where it was accurate, and I think it was pretty accurate overall, and where like changes were made. But I don't know. I mean, I think you could do either way.
They made his assistant, who he had an affair with. I can't remember if she was a doctor in her own right as well.
On the show, she was a physician's assistant, a PhD physician's assistant.
Right, yeah. They made her way more likable in the show than in the documentary.
Yeah, I agree. Where she was actually a nurse practitioner.
I can't remember.
And I think that's what they said, yeah. So there are changes, but they're not drastic, and they do all seem to have, like, a purpose in the story.
Yeah.
Like, in real life, he had 2 kids with his wife before they split. In the show, he has 1. I don't think that's an important change. And it keeps things pretty streamlined. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just stuff like that, yeah. And just, yeah.
Yeah.
And what else? Frasier is in this.
Oh yeah, isn't that why we watched it?
I can't remember why we first watched this.
I'm glad you mentioned Frasier. Good.
I knew you would be.
Good. Now we'll talk about Frasier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But briefly then, just...
Frasier is in this.
Kelsey Grammer plays the surgeon in Memphis, Tennessee, who taught Dunch, and where Dunch did his residency. And he shows up several times just being questioned about his training and stuff like that. And Kelsey Grammer is really good.
Good in everything.
As a neurosurgeon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good in everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bit where he's I love that so much. I was waiting for it on the second watch through, where
they're doing the surgery.
Frasier, is doing a surgery. He'll always be Frasier to me. Frasier's doing a surgery for students, and Dunch is there with him, actually doing what Frasier is describing to do. And he takes his, scalpel and points it down, and then Frasier just grabs his hand and just moves it over.
To the right
the right place, and then looks at him and continues talking. And is like, you'll get it. And Jesus, lots of systemic issues and lots, it's like a clusterfuck of things that led to this guy being able to do what he did. And what did he end up maiming or killing? 30 people in 2 years or something?
Yeah, he definitely killed at least 2, I think.
Some were left paralyzed.
Yeah, I mean, he ruined people's lives.
Yeah, ruined their lives. And some of these people went for elective surgeries, just I had some back pain. And he said that he could help make that go away and end up dead, or maimed for life,
Yeah.
Yeah, really compelling stuff. Both the real story and the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to see Joshua Jackson doing some real acting. Not doing Dawson's Creek. Never mind.
Who was he in Dawson's Creek? He wasn't Dawson.
No, he was the other guy. The other one.
Katie Holmes.
The other one. Not Katie Holmes.
I never saw Dawson's Creek.
I can't remember. My sister watched it.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I saw
my
some
sister
episodes.
watched it.
No, it was shit. The only thing I remember, I think I did watch a couple episodes, and the only thing I remember of that entire show was Dawson wanted to be a filmmaker, and he was explaining to someone how he was shooting something and was like, we're going to have the cameraman sit in a wheelchair on this grassy area and then just pull him back with the camera instead of running backwards. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's the only thing I remember.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, a bit of a tangent.
So I didn't know that about Dawson's Creek. Was it about that? Like, he wanted to be a
It was
filmmaker?
about like some teenagers in a high school, like drama,
It was about like some
it was about like some teenagers in a high school, like drama, and I'm dating people, and I can't really remember.
Yeah, because I remember what they looked like, or I remember Dawson and Katie Holmes, and they didn't look like teenagers to me. They looked like in their 20s.
Because they were. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Probably. Yeah.
Good.
No, I just I hadn't seen Joshua Jackson in a lot of stuff in recent years, and it was just cool to see him in this. He was really good. He did real acting, and he was menacing. When he's doing his like rants,
Yeah.
doing his
rants.
Dennis rants. I'm the golden god.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change the world of neurosurgery.
This is what it means to date a god.
This is what it means to date a god. Yeah, that's some really intense stuff that adds a lot. Yeah. So.
You don't understand Sleeping Christina.
You shush.
Oh, okay. Well, do you have anything else to say about that?
No, just if you can see it for free somehow. I can't.
It's worth it.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else to watch on Peacock, but that was a really good series, I thought. So, yeah.
Did you want to mention Frasier at all?
Yeah, I mean, what do you have to say about Frasier?
We are tepidly waiting for the Frasier reboot.
Yeah.
Which is meant to be coming out later this year.
Is it? Okay. I haven't been following it very much.
So they're picking up Frasier again. I'm not sure how long for. I believe that only Kelsey Grammer is there from the original cast. I know that Niles isn't doing it. David Hyde Pierce.
Yeah.
I know that Jane Leeves has said she's not going to do it. I don't know about Perry Gilpin. I know all their names.
Yep. John Mahoney's dead.
John Mahoney's dead, so he
So-
won't be in it.
Yeah. That's kind of why I haven't.
Or do you think they could just recast him
God no.
as a completely different person? Yeah, no, of course not.
No, I wouldn't.
It's Woody Harrelson.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't looked at it very much. I'm definitely gonna watch it when it's out.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's coming out on? Like what network?
No.
Okay, well I guess we'll find out. We'll watch it for sure, but I'm not holding my breath for it to be any good.
I know that I know that Damien told me, because he's, hot on Frasier News, that Nicholas Lyndhurst is going to play Frasier's friend.
I think I saw that as well. Yeah.
And Nicholas Lyndhurst plays Rodney in Only Fools and Horses, which is like a classic, beloved sitcom in Britain. And he's very good at Rodney, but I don't think he's very good at anything else. Is that harsh? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know the guy. Maybe it's
I'm
it's
not saying he's
perfectly
not nice
justified.
sort of thing, but yeah. And yeah, I guess he's going to be the Niall stand-in. That's kind of like, you could do that. I was hoping, I don't want them to make it really, but whatever. It's not going to ruin old Frasier for me.
Oh, hell no.
But I was hoping it's like all set in like, I wouldn't say like a squat, but like a fairly low-income house with like a beautiful designer Coco Chanel chair. That's Frasier's chair. No one else can sit on but him and his cat.
Yeah, right. I remember you saying this. Yeah,
And
he's
his
gonna
son
become.
Frederick is like a normal dude.
I mean, that's not a terrible way to go with it. If like Frasier becomes Martin's character type of like,
but the
I'm old,
anti-Martin.
like the anti-Martin, yeah. And if his son is actually like
into football
now,
yeah.
and is like pretty chill and has a normal job, or I mean that's that could work. I guess.
And then he has to get. Frasier has a fall or something, so he has to get a live-in assistant. And then the son or son's friend could. One of them falls in love with the live-in assistant, but they're married to someone else.
Just doing the same damn thing.
Well, I'm not saying that's what I want, but...
I know, I know. If you're trying to think about what they can do with it, that's a difficult one. Like, I don't know. You had said maybe Frasier has a podcast now, since nobody listens to radio anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, yeah, I could see that. I guess part of the problem for me that, like, makes me not that excited, interested is, number one, for me, the core of the long-term story and kind of the arcs in that show, like, really for me revolves around Niles and Daphne and their romance. The show really it's not terrible after they get together, but it does start to decline a bit for me.
Yeah.
And also, Frasier's whole thing that is really funny to me in the original series is like, he's a psychiatrist, he's pretty pompous and egotistical, fucking snob, but he has all these problems with like just basic dating. He's constantly dating somebody who he has like nothing in common with, but it's like, she's a model and she's a successful businesswoman. She knows what the word jajun means. Like, he's so bad at relationships, it makes it really funny. He's constantly screwing up, doing the dumbest shit. Stay out of Daphne's room, Frasier. What is wrong with you? And I just wonder if that same magic can work now with all the other characters gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you. And his career was going nowhere. And that his career progression wasn't the important part. He's a radio show host. That's, that gives us the opportunity for him to give funny advice, bad advice that he himself doesn't take.
Yeah, well, Niles, the real psychologist, his brother is, disapproving.
Yeah. Yeah. I certainly will watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch it too, but I'm not trying to get excited about it, to be honest. If it turns out to be good, I'll be happy and surprised, and if it turns out to be bad, I'll be not surprised.
I don't know anything about the remake, apart from what we said. Do you think they're even going to keep it in a studio?
Oh, you mean like shooting it with like real locations and stuff? Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Because man, maybe not. Maybe they won't do that. Maybe they'll try and make it fresh by making the style different, but I don't think I'd like that. I like his, I don't know, like,
yeah.
See, a lot of it is also like liking the particular sets. I like Frasier's apartment. It looks ridiculous and super gauche, in my opinion.
Yeah.
My objet d'art.
Yeah.
And so somebody touches one of his little, like, vases, and he's like, oh! Like, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows what they'll do with it.
Well, we didn't even have Frasier on there. What's next?
Yeah.
Always talking about a bit of Frasier.
Yeah. I'm actually just going to write that down since that was a big section. Make sure I get it in the time codes. Right, what's next? Well, first, would you like to take a short break?
Sure. Okay.
I want to use the bathroom.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
5 minutes later.
Okay, so next on the docket is Telemarketers. What did you think about Telemarketers?
Yep, HBO series.
No, just Telemarketers. Yes, the HBO series.
So far I like it. It's coming out weekly.
Yeah.
Which I find frustrating because I like to binge that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't forget things and I'm not rewatching it right before the new one comes out. But it's interesting. Do you want to explain what it's about?
It's a documentary made over a number of years. It looks actually kind of more like 2 decades. Made, or at least initially made, by people who worked in telemarketing for a company called CDG, which were responsible for really aggressive telemarketing scams where they would pretend to be Fraternal Order of Police, essentially to trick people into donating and to trick people into thinking that they could buy decals that would get them out of tickets and things like that. And there are 2 episodes up and I really like them. They're both made by normal people who are working in this industry who aren't journalists but are really inspired to do something, and they're really likable. Featuring Pat, who is like the spitting image of Kenny Hartz.
Yeah. Evil, nice Kenny Hartz.
Nice Kenny Hartz.
Kenny Hartz.
Good Kenny Hartz.
Kenny Hartz is the evil
Kenny Hartz is the evil Kenny. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like investigative journalists, like from the bottom, like discovering how to do stuff, and you kind of go with them, but it's edited in a professional way. It's kind of, it's a one in a kind sort of thing where, most documentaries are made
by someone outside.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Exactly.
You kind of like go on this journey with them. Of,
Yeah.
You know, where they worked for this company and
We're just filming themselves at the beginning, like.
Yeah, they were just filming
messing
themselves around the office at the beginning, and like what a crazy environment it was, full of like drug abuse, and they like loved to hire like unhireable people,
Like
more or
people
less like felons and
just out of prison.
yeah, stuff like that. And yeah, it's described as like one of the biggest telemarketing scams of all time in the show. And if you were wondering, it looks like telemarketers are just as big pieces of shit as you might have imagined.
At least the companies they work for.
The companies they work for, yeah, that's what made it interesting following these guys. Yeah, I mean, talking about they would tell people that 100% of their donation would go toward the police and helping families of fallen police officers, and then actually, like, the telemarketing company, would you say it was CDG, kept about 90%, and only 10% would end up going to the donation.
Well, it
then
looks like that was the most legitimate one, though, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And then yeah, a lot of the money ended up going to like the Fraternal Order of Police to like take fishing trips and stuff. But they would tell people like use this story of like a police officer that died like 5 years ago and say that the money is for helping his family, and it was just a big scam for this telemarketing company, more or less.
Yeah.
And they often they would get in trouble at various points and then just close down and like open with a new name, open with new branches. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like years long. It's happening, yeah. And some really good interview subjects as well. You know, like who's the guy that was saying like if a telemarketer calls, just hang up the phone. You know, is his advice, because it's so difficult to go after telemarketing bad actors, you know.
Yeah, he I can't remember who he is. He's in the charity industry, and he's against this sort of shit, and yeah, he's really pissed off and has the stats to back it up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just pretty horrific stuff. You know, there's like occasional footage of, like, it'd be like, in the office, excuse me, one of the telemarketers trying to convince like an old lady who's, living on Social Security to like donate $1,000, like all this kind of stuff. It was, it's pretty gross, but, told from an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, do you remember as well, I don't think it's the same old lady, but I think maybe the first investigation into CDG got triggered when an old lady got a call and she said, I'm not interested. She hung up the phone, and then they left a message on her answer phone saying, you really fucked up. I'm sending a SWAT team to your house. They'll be there in 10 minutes.
Threatening people for not donating, yeah. And yeah, it definitely seems like elderly people are a big target.
Yeah, and Spanish speakers as well. Anyone who they could intimidate. So we're up to episode 2, and Pat, who's the guy mostly on screen, and there's 2 guys making it. Pat's the guy mostly on screen, the other guy's mostly filming it. Pat has disappeared.
Yeah.
What do you think has happened?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they left it on a cliffhanger, I guess, the end of this episode, what happened to him. I mean, I'm not sure if anything, like, happened to him. He definitely had, like, a history with,
Well, he was on heroin for a bit.
and stuff, so it could just be, that, a relapse disappearing, or it could be, who knows. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I think he has been picked up for a misdemeanor, and has inexplicably, like when we come back in episode 3, has inexplicably been in jail for like 8 days for like jaywalking or something, and we're going to get into the police coming after them.
Yeah, because there are a number of people in both episodes who, they like interview and talk to. Some of them don't want their identities shown. Who talk about like the police started harassing me after I started looking into this. the police union was like harassing me.
Yeah, there's two unions we found out, right?
Yeah,
In this documentary.
right.
There's like the patrolman union and the superior union, and they met with one of the unions who don't use telemarketers, and that police officer union leader, was really direct.
Yeah.
You know, about how he felt about it. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought I would be that interested in telemarketing, but
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah, interesting so far. So, I mean, I don't have a ton to say. I can't remember how many episodes there's supposed to be. Like I say, it's coming out weekly, but I'll definitely be watching the next one.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Do you think telemarketing should be, as a practice, should be banned? Stopped?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know enough about it. I think, you know, I can't imagine anybody being like, no, I love telemarketers. I love when they call me up during dinner or at 7 a.m. trying to sell me something I don't need that may or may not exist. You know, you get an extended warranty for your car. So I don't know, but it does seem like, and I don't know how far beyond this example, like how many of these examples of how this company operates translates to other telemarketing companies. I would suspect that they're all pretty similar in being unscrupulous.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of make out in this documentary that CDG was like the proto-daddy. That the current telemarketing operations have...
Like that model.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not sure. You know, but definitely anybody who's trying to scam people, especially elderly people, should probably, you know, go away.
Piss off, Ghost.
Piss off, Ghost.
What next?
Yeah. Next. All right. So there was a teaser leaked for the Fallout TV show.
Yeah.
I want to say at Gamescom. While they were talking about Starfield, I think they said that Todd Howard came out and showed like a teaser for the Fallout TV show, and obviously it made it online. I'm sure that was by design. I mean, or they wouldn't have allowed people to have their phones up in front of the screen. I don't know, whatever. Pretty blurry, can't see a whole lot.
20 seconds long.
Yeah, like 20 seconds long. You know, one of these things that I'm personally not trying to get too excited about, but I think that the Fallout universe is still like ripe for lots of different... Why are you laughing now?
Because I'm not laughing at you. Sorry, no, go on.
Just it's such a ripe universe for telling like all different kinds of stories. I think that there's opportunity there if it's done well.
And we think we saw Walton Goggins as a ghoul. We definitely saw a ghoul, but was that Walton Goggins?
People commenting about it like on social media and other places were saying that it's Walton Goggins, yes.
Looked really cool. He works as a ghoul really well.
Yeah, as soon as I heard the rumor that he was playing a ghoul, I was like, perfect.
Yeah, I loved him since The Shield. And
he's great in lots of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, what I was laughing at was people saying like, oh no, is this going to have John Hancock in it? Because Walton Goggins is wearing John Hancock's hat.
He's
not wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah, it didn't look at all like Hancock to me. And again, it was like blurry. It wasn't great footage, but it didn't look like Hancock to me. And obviously that caught my attention because Hancock is one of my favorite companions. So, but I don't want to see a backstory. We know his backstory. I don't want to see Hancock in L.A.
Yeah.
You know, with the New California Republic, and you know what I mean. I don't really need that. Don't need to know any other backstory about him. So I hope it's just some new random ass ghoul that he's playing.
Well, yeah. I mean, like every character in the Fallout games, like you do get characters that cross over, but it's always like a little bit.
Yeah, I get you.
Anyway, well, yeah. I mean, what can I say about it? It was 20 seconds long. I didn't really glean anything. The power armor in the desert, looked fine for the TV show. I think power armor looks silly. In real, in the games. I love it playing in it, but it looks really dumb.
Yeah, I hope that they
lean into that.
Lean into that, exactly. Yeah, and I think we agree on kind of what we want from
Well, if Walton
Fallout
Goggins
show.
is playing a ghoul and the shot of him where it's slightly low and he's like looking like a maniac, like he's gonna be the good guy, right? Blowing these people up.
Yeah, I hope so.
Things. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Fallout 5, you've got to be able to play as a ghoul.
Yeah, I should fucking hope so. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Should be able to play as a super mutant.
Is it? Yeah.
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 I know what all of your playthroughs would be. In the next one.
Yeah.
Human!
I'd love to play as a super mutant.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And play as a Mr. Handy.
Yeah.
Thrust wildly.
Crab cakes for breakfast, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose that leads me into saying I've started a Fallout 4 playthrough yet again for waiting for Starfield to come out.
Yeah.
Is that what you wanted to talk about now, or?
Yeah,
Shall I wait?
Yeah, I put that down just like, waiting for Starfield, and, yeah, you started up a new game of Fallout, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And as often happens, I looked over your shoulder, saw you playing, and thought, maybe I'll start a new Fallout game tonight.
Yeah. Still good.
Yeah, I really like it. And, yeah, just kind of something to tide us over until Starfield's out.
Well, you're not going to play it anyway, are you?
Starfield?
Yeah.
Yeah, after you're done with your first playthrough.
I'll never be done with it. Just be going on and on and on.
Well, another option is that I'll start watching you play it and be like, this is bullshit. I'm getting it.
Yeah.
And we will play next to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Fallout 4, I got a mod that enables you to, after you leave the vault, sort of magically actually start the game almost anywhere on the map. So I started in the south, and it was really good. It was one of the freshest new playthroughs because I'm in a completely different environment. It atmospherically is different.
Did you say that it scales or does it not? Like, you said it's more difficult. It doesn't, like, scale the enemies around you with their level. Like, because in Fallout 4, from left to right, things get more difficult, and then more south as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I started in Somerville Place, and yeah, the first thing I did after killing the people there, because I'm playing as a bad person, very bad person, yeah, like the first enemies I saw were Mirelurk Hunters and a Mirelurk King. And then after I pissed my pants and hid from them, it was Gunners, Assaultrons, running away from them, and then in the glowing sea with no Radaway, being like, that's a Deathclaw over there.
Yeah.
And I was level 5.
Making that face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that does sound fun.
Yeah.
I've never used that.
And I know that Starfield, you mentioned earlier, has kind of different backstories where you're not going to be like confined to like the story of Fallout 4 or Fallout 3 where you're definitely this dude in a vault, this woman in a vault who comes out.
It doesn't look like that now. It looks like you have it's a bit more open of an RPG kind of setup. At least I hope so.
Like Cyberpunk, sort of where you can start one of 3 ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still some pretty limited information in some ways about some of these details, but it looks like it's going to be way more open, and the fact that it's a silent protagonist makes me think that that's the case as well. That maybe it'll be less. Because, I mean, yeah, with Fallout 4, one of the most obnoxious things to me is, like, I don't want to play as a mom that is looking for her son. I don't give a shit about Sean. I got things to do, and good neighbor, you know? And it doesn't really get in the way. You just play around it.
Good evening. I just woke up from a long crypto sleep. Your style of government is a problem for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Who's Sean? I got stuff to do. Pick up a broom. Dirty shitheads.
Yeah. Oh, you mean my niece's baby? No, he dead.
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't really care. So I hope that
So your headcanon would be like, what at the beginning while you're stuck watching Nate with the baby, you quickly look at your watch and at the date, and then when you get up, you're like, oh, that was 60 years ago. Probably dead then.
Yeah. I mean, personally, my headcanon is that I'm a synth waking up. So that's why I don't really care about Nate or Sean, because...
Wow.
I'm just saying it works better for me that way. I don't know. not like the first playthrough. You know, I tried to play it like totally straight. Like, yeah, where's my baby?
Yeah.
But yeah, just why would you assume that, you know, you were in cryosleep and then you woke up and saw something and then you went back to cryosleep? Why would you assume that he's still alive even? You have no idea when that was. Nah, whatever.
Yeah, fair enough.
Um,
Okay, yeah. That's your headcanon. That's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially after the, whichever DLC it was that, with Dima and all that, like, kind of expanding on, like, after we have that conversation with him where he's
Fahaba.
like, in Fahaba with a lobster dinner, and he's asking about whether you think that you could be a synth. When I played that, I was like, yes, I am. And then it kind of became my headcanon. It's like, that makes sense why I'm so much infinitely better at absolutely everything than these people, and, you know, makes sense with, you know, why I can shoot anything, and I don't know.
See,
It just works.
Yeah, I have the same thing to explain, but I do it the opposite way. And for me, it's like, I'm not a synth. I'm just a dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess he was in the army, sure. So that makes sense. That's why he knows how to use power armor and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. That's that explained. But in other ways, he's just like an average dude. It's just that 200 years of radiation has produced like an immense amount of brain rot.
Okay, that's a fun idea.
Yeah.
I like that, yeah. Like, radiation is, like, leaked into
Everything, yeah. I mean,
Vault 111 all this time, or...
Oh, no, not in me. What,
Oh.
brain rot in me? No, in the rest of the... No, I've been fine.
Oh, I see, okay.
That's why I'm doing great, because I've
Right, okay,
been in my
everyone
lead
else is
lining.
dumb.
Everyone else is, like, borderline,
Yeah.
you know, unable to take... Well, they are. I mean, they like... Yeah, it's Boston. So what
Yeah.
I'll do is I'll put up 3 walls and a curtain. That'll be fine. Like, is it not going to get cold?
Yeah.
Ever?
I know, yeah. Or, yeah, you know, like, oh, we live here, we have a place to live. But we're very hungry and we have no fresh water. We can never work this out on our own. There's water right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pick up this trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But-
what? Oh, you meant... So you thought I meant, like, I've got brain rot?
Yeah, like something as, you know, maybe you've, like, mutated in some way.
Oh. Yeah, and well, you
Didn't
just
think of
get
that, did
shot
you?
all the time, and...
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that explains, like, why you're, like, so powerful. You're, like, a rare mutation. That could work.
Because the baby thing kind of does work if you're going to play it as, like, if you're going to explain why your character is so violent and
I
set up
guess.
for it. Because, you know, what do? You get out of the vault, you leave your dead wife or your dead husband, and you immediately start, like, pulling Red Roach's heads off.
Yeah.
And
I get you. Yeah, I mean, I can see how that could work for some people. I don't want my character to have a baby. You know, I don't care. I don't care about babies. Now the dog. Yes. I need some more dogs, actually.
I just like the idea that my character's really chill and like, hey, have you guys seen my baby? Also, heard about any work? Yeah, I'm shoveling.
Got a job?
Yeah, job, bank job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
It strikes me as well, having gone from Deus Ex with Adam Jensen to Fallout 4, I guess it's going to be probably going to be very difficult in Starfield to be non-lethal. I guess, because that isn't really a thing in Skyrim and
Yeah.
Fallout 4.
More Fallout 4, yeah. I mean, I think it'd be cool if they offered, like, a way to do that made sense, because just so there's another option for another playthrough, you know, because definitely for me, these kinds of games, like, I want to play them multiple times,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, but you've played Fallout 4 multiple times, you've never felt the need to...
Actually, with Fallout 4, no, I haven't really changed my character setup all that much. I mean, I just like playing those kinds of games with the same style. you
Yeah.
know. Sneaky, ranged, you know, like long range sniper rifle, usually.
Boring.
I know how you play things.
Boring.
I
How?
remember. Well, I know because of so many things that we've played together. It's like, you know, okay, all right, the enemy's over there. All right, I'm lining up. All right, I'm gonna take this first shot, and then I see you in the distance, like, run.
You just take
I
forever.
didn't even finish talking. God.
Do you remember in Fallout 76 where you were stood down the end of a corridor you told me this, and then you saw my character like run across the doorway and then run the other way, and then like 5 ghouls came running after him.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes.
And I didn't even know.
You just run in, and then you have a trail of them just everywhere, and then now I gotta run. Like shit.
Leroy Jenkins it, yeah.
Yeah, Leroy Jenkins. That's your play style.
Yeah. I used to always play with the like sniper play style, but I don't know, I guess like I played so much of it, I need to
Sure.
shotgun people.
Well, that's what makes it fun to play games with you.
Really stupidly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, again, it's like the same in Deus Ex where, like, that game is way more rewarding to play stealthily. What? Wait.
Oh, nothing. I'll tell you after you tell me your thing.
Tell me.
I was just chuckling to myself thinking about in Fallout 76, where you take pictures of your characters and then it's for your loading screens, and I was just laughing at all the funny pictures we took.
Oh, yeah.
The one where you're like, take all your clothes off, and it's like her in underwear, and you're like, let me get this angle. And it's like we're in a French film. This is in black and white. It's just like a woman in her underwear standing there.
And then a dude in power armor like doing that.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Yeah.
We have a lot of funny pictures.
Yeah.
That was the best part of that game, really.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah, there were some fun ones.
Anyway, go on.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, like in Deus Ex, it's much more rewarding, and the game really wants you to play stealthily. Otherwise, it's too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I can't remember what I was going to say. Something.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, never mind. Oh yeah, I was going to say yeah, but so even then, you know, where stealth games kind of do this a bit, where you know, play stealthily. That's kind of the most rewarding way to play it, but also the most challenging. So then my Adam Jensen just has like 20 grenades, which are really fun to use, but I'll never use.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Grenades are for selling for me in
Like
Fallout
in
4.
Splinter Cell, where it was like, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. And then they're like, by the way, you've got an underslung shotgun. And shit like that, like, but don't ever use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you, but I mean...
Maybe.
I guess it depends. Like, yeah, I always play like a stealthy playthrough in Fallout 4, but that doesn't mean that, you know, when I see a fat man laying there and there's somebody on the interstate bridge, you know, a mile away, that I don't just pick it up and, you know, just for fun. You can still do crazy shit.
Pick up a fat man by his legs, like Trunchbull.
Yeah, that kind of fat man.
A fat man just laying there, like...
Yeah, you know, I still use other weapons just for fun, to screw around, but, you know.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. That's not a stealth... I know you can do stealth in it, but it's not a stealth game.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Kind of in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where like Deus Ex is a stealth game where like you can see people's cones of vision and there are cameras and
like
alarms
a Metal Gear type.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Almost, yeah. Where it's like designed for that kind of.
Yeah, like Metal Gear, like you know, where I get all these, like, oh, I've got my gun, I've got my stealth gun, which, you know, shoots non-lethal rounds and is silenced and everything, and I've also invested in this like massive backup gun just in case things go wrong, but they never do.
Yeah,
not
I know
really.
what you mean. Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
What weapons do you usually play with?
In what?
Like, in Fallout 4, I mean, weapon like style.
I change it. Change it up.
What are you gonna do in this one?
Close quarter explosion. I suppose.
That's different.
No. I mean, fairly close quarter. I'm not going to use... On my last playthrough with Clouseau...
John Clouseau.
Clouseau ended up with... I wanted to maintain his intelligence 1, but he ended up, like, with 10 strength. So he would just, like, hit people and pop their heads off and stuff. It got kind of silly.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, kind of close... Yeah, like a kind of carbine assault rifle sort of thing, and then...
So, like, heavy.
Loads of grenades. Yeah, I mean, I'm not
close.
against that, but...
Okay. Gotcha. Alright, I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to mix it up or anything.
Again, it gets too easy. Like, you do your heavy playthrough. It gets to the point where you've got, you know, your perks in heavy and your perks in explosion, and you see people, like, down the street, you get out your rocket launcher, and then you kill them dead. Just as you might snipe them, and it's like, oh, it's too easy. I need people to be shooting at me. I need to get right up to them and antagonize them.
I get you. I mean, the game gets too easy at a certain point, no matter what style you play, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course it does, yeah.
But I don't mind that. Like, by the time I get to that point, it's like, yes, I'm a synth god among you regular people who can't wash your fucking face.
It's been 200 years. Pick up some bricks.
Pick up those bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, that mod that lets you clean up junk is like indispensable to me now. You know, just because it's so obnoxious.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to have a street here. Pick up those fucking cans.
Well, how far away do you think we are technologically in terms of getting games where you can have dynamic crap?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you can get that in some games. And actually, I've got a mod that does that in Fallout 4. So, yeah, you never seen that? You can build dynamic structures so they can be destroyed with guns and stuff.
I didn't mean that. I meant like having like physically simulated bricks and dust.
Stuff like that has been talked about for so long.
I mean,
we'll get there.
Yeah,
I don't know
in
how
Star
much I want
Citizen they've Star Citizen. I think it's just gone over 600 million in terms of funding. It's been on Kickstarter for like 13 years.
Oh right, I remember you telling me about this. Yeah.
They've got something where they maybe not, because a lot of people joke about Star Citizen a lot. But I did read something about simulated bed sheets. So you can like pick up a sheet and it actually falls like a sheet.
Okay.
Also, blinking, where they're trying to simulate eyes getting dry.
Right. Right.
Nasal hair.
Why does this woman have a beard?
Just joking on that one.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that this processing power
Well, yeah,
goes
of
ever
course.
up, you know, we'll get more detailed stuff, and maybe, I don't know if I really have a need to see a sheet dropping in a, you know, like a Fallout game, for example.
I remember in Soldier of Fortune 2, which is, it's got to be very old now. It's just a first-person shooter, but you can kind of like dismember people and things like that. And I mean, I'm sure if I went back to it, it'd look awful. But at the time, it was like amazing. Like if I threw a knife at someone, it would stick where I threw it, kind of ridiculously. But you could like blow bits off people. You could shoot someone in the head and like chunks would come out.
Yeah.
Would you like to see more of that? Would you like to see like a physically simulated body like you get in Sniper Elite, but that you can, you know, would you like to see like a body on the floor and if you start shooting it, like a lung pops out?
Yeah, I think I would like that, actually. Yeah. It depends on the game. Like in a Fallout game, I would love to see that stuff go further. Because it's hilarious enough already. Shoot somebody in the head and it explodes and then their eyeballs come flying at the camera, like, together. Like,
Together, yeah.
That's hilarious. I want more of that. Yes. You know. Get someone at just the right angle and they go flying into the sun.
You hit someone in the gut with a golf club and their head explodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that stuff. It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, I enjoy that.
Cool. Anything else to say about Fallout or anything? Video games.
Video games.
Games.
Not necessarily.
Got anything on the list? Else on the list?
You wanted me to talk about Gak Man.
Oh, I forgot all about that. I forgot all about Gak Man.
I don't think it's that interesting, but I will tell it if you want.
Yeah, tell us about Gak Man.
How did I get onto it talking to you about this? I can't remember.
Oh, you were drunk.
That is probably true. Yeah, for some reason talking about playing with toys as a kid and how, like,
Don't be coy now.
I'm telling it, shush. How you didn't never play the way that you're meant to play with toys. Maybe that's just me and I was a weird-ass child. My sister and I had lots of Barbies. Well, you know, not like Barbie brand necessarily, but we had plenty of dolls, you know. I guess it was like an easy gift, you know, get a Barbie from your grandma for Christmas. And so we had like a tub and we'd play with dolls. But we always would tell these
like a tub of
like a plastic tub.
Yeah.
Like full of Barbies.
Mm-hmm.
And we would come up with the wildest stories and the only way, like, we would rarely like play. We were more interested in like telling a story about who our characters were and stuff. and we had an MC Hammer Barbie doll. They made them. And for some reason, we decided that with MC Hammer Barbie, we probably had like 4 total, like, male dolls. You know, we just didn't really care about them. And MC Hammer doll was, for some reason, just hilarious to me. And we also had Gak. I don't know if anyone remembers Gak. Nickelodeon Gak. It's like some sticky crap that just gets hair stuck all over it that you can never drop, and it's, you know, because it's no good anymore.
And it makes fart noises when you go...
Yeah, you can do that, yeah. You can.
Yeah.
And you stretch it and you wrap it and stuff. And we made Gak Man, and this was like a recurring playthrough that we would do.
So you would just cover the dolly in Gak?
We would wrap him up with Gak, yeah, and then he was like a supervillain. He would attack our Barbie dolls, like shooting Gak out of his arms and wrap them up and take them off to a secret cave. And then they'd have to get like rescued by other Barbie dolls. Again, we had a little use for boy characters. And that's it, pretty much. And George thought this was hilarious and told me like 4 times this week, remember that, and talk about it on Dead Air.
That's not what you said.
What else did I say?
You said me and my sister would cover our MC Hammer doll with Gak, and then he would shoot Gak at other dolls and rape them.
I did not say he would rape them.
Yes, you did.
I did not. I said he would wrap them up and then take them off, and like they would be like, you know, like cocooned, like in a cave.
When I questioned you about this in the cold light of day, you said, "Well, I think it was analogous with rape."
I think when you're like 8, you don't really, and your parents let you watch kind of whatever movies you want. You don't totally understand some certain things, like why men would kidnap women, but it may, you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We played all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, we also had playthroughs that we had like, God, what did it come with? I want to say like one of the Little Mermaid Barbies came with like a little toy orca. And we also had, my sister, she's my half-sister, she had way more toys than me, and we would combine our toys together, because we weren't always together every week, if that makes sense. Divorce. But she had this cruise ship, this Barbie cruise ship that she'd bring over, and I had like a pool in it. And we would get in the bathtub with that and have them like stealing orcas and dolphins out of the sea and putting them in this pool. Like, I don't think kids necessarily know why they're playing things the way they do. We came up with all kinds of crazy shit. And then we couldn't play with Gak Man anymore because one of our dogs tried to swallow the Gak. And it was like covered in dog saliva and vomit and hair, and we had to throw it away. And I don't think that they ever bought us Gak anymore after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was gross stuff. Like, how's that a toy? Just this sticky thing.
Yeah.
But we found a way to play with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to tell any stories about toys as a child?
I don't think I have anything that could ever match Gak Man. It would shoot Gak at people and...
Yeah.
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 I don't know why. Just there was really like nothing else to play with an MC Hammer doll. Do you know what I mean? He was just, you know, it was just like one of those dolls. Like, what do we do with this one?
I used to really like Lego, and I used to kind of try and make, like kind of like Indiana Jones dungeons with it, with like traps for like my little dude to get through. And I remember someone who worked with my dad, obviously their son had grown up, so they gave me like this big Lego set that would have like been like a premier Lego set at one point. It was Lego Technic, so all the pieces were perforated, and you could put like cogs on them.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I didn't have the full thing. It was meant to build like probably like a Lego car, like that big, but I didn't have all the pieces for it. But I had enough pieces to try to make, you know, very basic mechanical things. And I would be obsessed with like trying to make an elevator, and I just couldn't get it to work. I obviously didn't realize what I needed to do. I needed to like somehow get teeth on the side of it, but I'd like try and build a shaft and with like some Lego rope, try and first get like the elevator just to come up with me picking it, and then try and automate it. And it would always just end up with like Lego flying across the room. Yeah. Because it had the motor thing had one speed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that, but I don't think I ever had that. I definitely liked Legos too.
Yeah.
I had like a whole set of like pirate Legos.
I also had pirate
Like
Legos.
little eye patches and like little pirate outfits and hats and stuff.
Yeah, and a mast with a Jolly Roger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where you can
Yeah.
make like the little like pirate ship you can make with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it had a little skeleton character.
Yes.
With a sword.
Yes, and it looked exactly like sorry, I know I'm getting excited about children's toys. It like had exactly the same body shape as a regular Lego character, obviously, with like just the skeleton painted over it. Do you know what I mean? Like just the same.
Well, mine had a skeleton ribcage.
Yeah.
Like you could see through the ribcage.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Fancy. I
Yeah,
remember
fancy.
that one. Yeah.
And it had a sword with it and a musket.
Mine had a little sword too, and I think like maybe like little flintlock pistols.
Yes.
Perhaps.
And it had some bars, so you could make a little prison.
Mm-hmm.
And it had one of those blocks that does that.
Yeah. Right.
You know, flaps.
Yeah.
So you could open it and stuff. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lego was great.
Yeah, I really love Legos. Other
Yeah.
than stepping on them.
Yeah, but I was never really into like getting Lego kits of like the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
I'd much rather just
Rather
make
just build
something
stuff.
random. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I like to just build stuff. Yeah. Did you ever play with what do they call it? Like connects. Yeah. Connector sets or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
did.
I didn't have those.
Yeah, in grade 6, year 6, our teacher was obsessed with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it would always be like, today we're going to build a bridge with connects. It was good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never had any of those. They looked fun.
Yeah.
I had Lincoln logs. That was boring.
Yeah, I never had those Lincoln logs.
Yeah, they're like little. They're shaped like logs, and they've got like a perforation where you can stack them together in patterns, so you could like build a little house or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I think they're fun for like a little kid, probably. But
Yeah. Duplo.
Duplo.
Like big Lego.
Okay. Oh, you mean like the really giant ones?
Not really giant, but yeah, they're pretty big.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, stickle bricks. Just bricks made of stickle.
You made that up.
No, stickle bricks, like they're bricks, but the edges of them are kind of like hard plastic cut into, I don't know, how would you describe it? Cut into like a grid shape so that you can kind of like force them together.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Don't know if I've seen those.
Yeah. Surely this is entertaining.
Surely.
Surely.
Yeah.
Yeah. What now? Is that it?
You wrote down India moon.
Oh yeah, India landed a lander on the moon for, well, it's been reported in the media for $75 million. Less than it cost to make Interstellar, but actually that was the projected cost 2 years ago. So could it be more? But nevertheless, they are the fourth nation to land a lander on the moon and have a little rover go around.
Cool.
Going, ooh, yeah. And the first nation to land near the South Pole of the moon. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Cool.
I don't know, I just thought it was a cool thing to mention.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about space exploration? Is it worth it?
I think
Hot
it's
topics.
interesting stuff. There's so much to learn out there. I also think, excuse me, sorry. I also think that, a lot of good stuff's come out of, like space research and exploration. NASA's come up with a lot of useful stuff.
Like what?
As like side effects. I can't recall. Velcro.
CAT scan machines.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. But also just there's a lot of stuff that we need to do here.
Yeah.
So I guess conflicted. I like space.
Well, I
think
think
it's
you know,
cool.
do it. Just don't
Yeah.
don't start ripping out the copper pipes to do it.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. Sure.
Yeah.
How do you feel about space exploration?
That way, what I just said.
Cool.
Yeah.
Don't rip the copper out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think we should do it. I don't think it should be like, let's not lie to ourselves and say we're going to live on Mars anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and what's the point of, like, yeah, probably we could put a space station up there that people could live on.
But why?
But why? Like, should, you know, do it for science.
Yeah.
Do it for scientific reasons.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Hurrah. Are we done?
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra!
There's nothing else on the list, so I mean, got anything else to say?
No. Thanks very much for watching.
Thanks.